Performing Gender, Dance Makes Differences is a 2-year European project that involves 5 countries, and from each country it invited one dancer and one dramaturg to use this 2-year opportunity to build on our skills, to expand our knowledge. And in the second phase of the project, which is now happening here in Ljubljana, to share what we learned in this project with 10 more participants. And this is what we were doing. I was in the role of the dramaturg, and Koldo was as the choreographer, dance maker.
Yeah, it was a very interesting week. So we were 12 people in the room, Thea and I, and 10 performers, very diverse in terms of age. They were from different ages, and also with different backgrounds, from circus to dance and theater. So that made it very interesting. Thea and I brought some ideas about gender and movement. So we wanted to put them on the table and to see how the reactions of the participants and how the personal approach to gender issues and related to their identity. So during the week, I took with me all my experience from dance, also my interest in gender issues, and it was just like starting points to start working, sharing, and it was very easy because they were very engaged and generous and honest from the beginning, so we had a lot of material to play with. It has been a very nice week. Yes. Very interesting for all of us for exchange. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, the most interesting moment were when Koldo said the pictures that we brought. One was the pictures of a gender that we are right now relating to, and one was that we are relating in the future, and the sentences about how do we feel about gender and something just connected with gender. And we were walking through the pictures, and it gives me like it gives me a space for thinking how do I feel in myself, and it gave me like a mirror to think how I feel about gender. And in one moment I felt very sad, and one moment I felt like my history. I started thinking about my history. Yeah, that was for me the most interesting moment. Before I came here in few solo performances, I already tried to do a research about my femininity and how I present it and how I feel it. And I applied to this workshop to see how can I connect this with the group. And I think it was very nice to see the other perspective, and I also think that all group we connect very well, and we were discussing very openly. So I think it was amazing.
I think I would say that I discovered some new techniques. I wouldn't connect them maybe specifically to exploring gender in dance, but I think they're useful like in general as tools, and then we can apply them to anything. I also don't think that there should be like special techniques for discovering gender and then special techniques for doing something else. But I feel like all these exercises we did and with which we played, I think they can be used in any context of you maybe tweak them a little for what you want. So I would say yes.
I would connect those moments to energy of the people I worked with through that week. I felt that openness and acceptance were one of the main things that made me want to come here, connect, research the movement, and just enjoy the whole process instead of focusing on what's gonna come out of this, just to enjoy the process. But if I focus on exercises, I would say that one when we were in the line, and as we were moving forward slowly, we had to show a certain emotion. And when we were at the end of our way, we have to like over-exaggerate a certain emotion. For example, sadness, anger. It was really interesting for me how different people shape anger with their bodies and their voice.
Through a very wide range of physical activities proposed by both the dramaturg Thea and the choreographer Koldo, we managed to work with gender as a really not only a mental state but a physical tool. So how we can use gender really to explore our own bodies, our own identities, and I feel definitely even if the aim was not to get anywhere specifically, but we did achieve a few new skills. Like personally, as an artist, I definitely now am ready to get on to the next stage, which would be experiencing my own gender identity. So definitely now I have the tools to do that.
We are one and many. Don't define us by what we wear, what we sound like, what we look like. We are becoming the best women and men and everything in between and beyond that you will ever know.
When we move, it's a movement.
I was able to come yesterday and be here for part of the rehearsals. And then to stay here today and watch rehearsals and be here for the sharing and see what happened from one day to the next and what had happened, which gave me the idea of what had happened in the days previous. I was so impressed, first of all, with the generosity of the group, their way of listening to each other, the care that they took with each other, how absolutely fearless they were about approaching the material and about being open. And also I found that they were very empowered, which gave me a clue to something that was happening during the rest of the week, in a way that they were addressing issues in a way that was inviting them to be makers as well as performers. And this is an interesting thing in dance, because contemporary dance depends on performers more and more to be makers, but sometimes there are still hierarchies there. And that also has to do with performing gender. What happens in those dance relationships within dance contexts. So I found this a very inspiring process.
What I liked about the performance was how we were invited into the space, so that we could enter the space in which the performers later performed, that we could see those initial materials which they brought with themselves to the workshop, so we could enter into their space of ideas, and as they were dancing, like performing this safe space between the pairs of the performers.
I was very happy to be here and to notice the one thing that stood out to me the most was I found it very evocative. When we started to talk emotions and gender, I'm in my 6th decade of life, and I noticed as I watched a woman sort of on the floor moving and struggling and growing more fierce, and it appeared frustrated and angry. And she had handed out pieces of paper to the audience, and the one next to me said feminine, and I said, oh no, that's not feminine. And then I said, wait, what is feminine, and how does one who identifies with feminine show struggle? How do they bring this into the world in a way that is effective for themselves and for others? So I found it was a wonderful way to start questioning how we blend emotions across gender identification.
I believe that seeing the dancers interact with each other as a group, and then to see one lone dancer out alone kind of made me think about people that are struggling with gender identity and how they feel in the community that they're in. So I gave thought to that. It also made me think of my own lack of knowledge about the gender identity and how I am interacting with people, how I am trying to learn more about what that means, because I am in my 60s, and so this is a new thing for me. I also really like the idea of showing it through the arts, through dance, through theater. I think that's a good place to start.
Oh, I snitched some of the quotes that you had with permission, and the one that really, just a second, it was actually written by one of your dancers, Giacomo, is it? Jackie, yeah? And it says, sometimes I wonder what would happen if when babies are born, we open their minds instead of their legs to see what's in there. Like I said, I'm non-binary myself, and I don't believe in this terror, this reign of binary gender. Like, everyone has a specific set of genitals, and somehow we're making these genitals like the most important thing about a person. So nothing else, like, are you talented as a singer? Are you a sibling? Do you have kids? Do you like to travel? Have you conquered like Triglav or Mount Everest? No. I want to know what your genitals are, and that's the most important thing about you. And I think that's a really crappy approach to humankind. I think it's a mentality that you kind of unlearn of connecting everybody with a specific gender. But yeah, there were just 10 bodies, each unique in their own like shape and form and the way they moved. And for me, it was really a liberating performance, a liberating way of movement. And I guess as a spectator also, it's important to see, because everyone sees it differently. If there were like 40 of us, everyone saw a different show tonight. Depends on their experiences, their beliefs, their core values. But still, I think they managed to make like, one new thought that I got of this was like, one of the performers said that groups of people are gender-free, are like less gendered. So you don't focus so much on who is what according to your specific genealogy, but they're just people. So for me, that was very nice. And the duos that they made, like when I asked how did this connect to performing gender, and then she said it didn't, it was just caring. But that's exactly the point, gender is performed. And the base of being human is just, you know, care, respect, interaction with each other, accepting boundaries, accepting differences, I guess. So I think they made a really nice point of that with their bodies and their movement interaction.